Wringer by Jerry Spinelli. The thing that this is not wanting to be a ringer didn't even knock him from his bike, untie his sneaker lace, call his name, stand up to fight. No, it did nothing. It was simply merely there, a whisper of feather wings reminding him of the moment he dreaded above all others. The moment when not wanting to be a ringer would turn to becoming one. Wringer by Jerry Spinelli to Jerry and Helen Weiss. He did not want to be a ringer. This was one of the first things he had learned about himself. He could not have said exactly when he learned it, but it was very early. And more than early, it was deep inside, in the stomach, like hunger. But different from hunger, worse, because it was always there. Hunger came in only sometimes, such as just before dinner, or on the long rides in the car. Then quickly, it was gone. The moment it was fed. But this thing, there was no way to feed it. Well, one way perhaps, but that was unthinkable. So it was never gone. In fact, gone was something it could not be. For he could not escape it any more than he could escape himself. The best he could do was forget it. Sometimes he did so for minutes, hours, maybe even for a day or two. But this thing, not like to be forgotten, like air escaping from a punctured tire, it would spread out from the stomach and everywhere, and inside, the outside, up and down at night, just beyond the foot of his bed, his sock drawer, on the porch steps, on the edges of his lips of other boys, in the sudden flutter from a brush that he had come too close to, everywhere, just to remind him. This thing, this not wanting to be a ringer, did it ever knock him from his bike? Untie his sneaker lace? Call him a name? Stand up and fight? No, it did nothing. It was simply merely there, a whisper of feather wings reminding him of the moment he dreaded above all others, the moment that he did was when the not wanting to be a ringer would turn him to becoming one. In his dreams, the moment had already come. In his dreams, he looks down to find his hands around the neck of a pigeon. It feels silky. The pigeon's eyes are polished, shirt buttons. The pigeon's eyes is orange with a smaller black button in the center. It looks up at him. It does not blink. It seems as if the bird is about to speak, but it does not. Only the voice speaks. Ring it! Ring it! Ring it! He cannot. He cannot ring it, nor can he let it go. He wants to let it go, desperately, but his fingers are stone, and the voices chant, Ring it! Ring it! And the orange eye stares. Sometimes he wished it would come after him, chase him, this thing he did not want to be. Then at least he could run from it, he could hide. But the thing never moved. It merely waited for him to come to it. And he would. He would come to it as surely as 9 follows 8 and 10 follows 9. He would come to it without having to pedal or run or walk or even move a muscle. He would fall smack into the lap of it without doing anything but breathe. In the end, he would get there simply by growing a day older. His mother called, Palmer! Hurry up, they're coming! The doorbell rang. Palmer! He flew down the stairs. His mother waved him on. Go! Go! It's your birthday! You invited them! At the door, he turned suddenly, afraid to open it. He did not want to be disappointed. You sure it's them? His mother's eyes rolled. No, it's my Aunt Millie. Open it! He opened the door, and there were Beans, Muto, and Henry, 3 grinning faces, shoving wrapped gifts into his chest, storming past him into the house. Beans bellowing, Where's the grub? Palmer stayed at the doorway, fighting back tears. They were tears of relief and joy. He had been sure they would not come, but they did. He wondered if they would give him a nickname. What would it possibly be? But he was asking too much. This was plenty. They were here. with presents. They liked him. He was one of them, at last. Arms full of gifts, he pushed the door shut with his foot, joined them on the dining room table. Beans was scooping chocolate ice cream from the birthday cake onto his finger. This was with the drama of a sword swallower. He threw back his head and sank his finger into his mouth. When it came out, it was clean. Muto cackled and did likewise. Henry stared at Palmer's mother, who was glaring at Beans. Palmer's mother did not like Beans. She wasn't crazy about Muto or Henry either, but she especially did not like Beans. He's sneak and he's troublemaker, had said. He's got a mean streak. And she was right. But he also was the leader of the kids on the street, at least the ones under 10 years old. It had always been that way. Beans was the boss, and surely, naturally, any king who ever sat upon a throne. But he's the boss, Palmer would explain to his mother. Boss my foot, she would snort and stomp away. Some things mothers just didn't understand. Open the presents, Bean barked. He rapped on the table with the spoon. Muto rapped with the spoon also. Palmer dumped the gifts onto the table. The first time he took a good look at them. They were wrapped in newspaper, sloppily fitted and closed with black tape. No ribbons, no bows, no bright paper. He tore open the first. It was an apple core, brown and rotting. From me, piped Muto. You like it? Muto hollowed. Palmer giggled. It's great, thanks. What a guy, that Muto. Then the other gifts were crusty, holy, once white sock from Henry, and Beans, a thumb-sized brown something that Palmer finally recognized as an ancient cigar butt. Silverware hopped as Beans and Muto pounded the dining room table, laughing. Palmer's mother, still glaring, came with more gifts. These had ribbons and bows and beautiful paper. Gee, she said, after those nice presents you just got, I feel really cheesy giving you this junk. Palmer opened them, a soccer ball, a book, a pair of sneakers, and a Monopoly game. Thanks, Mom, said. It was pointless to say more, pointless to say I like their presents just as much as yours because they did it themselves. That means something. It means we came into your house, we gave you a cigar butt, and you're one of us. Palmer's mother lit the candles, 9 of them on the chocolate cake with the chocolate icing. She started off with Happy Birthday song, but soon was drowned out by the boys who screamed rather than sang. When they came to the line, Happy Birthday, dear, they glanced at each other and belched out, Snooks! Happy birthday to you. So they had done it after all, given him a nickname, Snots. He moved his tongue silently over silently over the name, feeling its shape. For a moment, he wondered if he would be getting the treatment, but he pushed that thought aside. He was getting greedy. He had already been blessed enough for that day. Make a wish, said his mother, and blow out the candles. He stared into the ring of candles, 9 yellow flames, plump and liquid-like, perched on the wicks, and suddenly he felt the old fear launching up inside itself from his shoulder and brushing his wingtip across his cheek, and just as suddenly he was gone. It was gone, and Beans was croaking, Hey, we ain't got all day. I got lots of wishes if you don't. Bean leaned across the table, took a deep breath, and blasted away. The flames vanished. Wick tips glowed orange for a second, then turned black. Let Bean blow away. Palmer didn't care. Nothing could blow out the candle glow he felt inside. Palmer LaRue Snots, the world's newest 9-year-old, was one of the guys. It was never meant to be a real party. Just cake and ice cream, Palmer's mother had said. That's all. She did not want those little hoodlums, as she called them, in her house any longer than necessary. The boys dragged out the cake and ice cream as long as they could. Beans and Muto kept leaving their chairs and wandering around and flopping on the furniture. Palmer's mother kept shooing them back into the table. I guess they're done. You're done now, she said, anxious to shoo them out the door. More ice cream, they said, and then Beans started having to go to the bathroom, or so he said. He made 3 trips upstairs, probably spying on Palmer's room as he headed up the stairs for his 4th trip. Palmer's mother grabbed his arm, announced, "Okay, boys, party's over. Time to go outside and enjoy the summer sunshine." As the guys left, Henry surprised Palmer's mother by saying thank you for the party. "Yeah," Palmer called back. "Thanks, Mom." Palmer brought out his new black and white soccer ball. Bean snatched it from him and booted it into the back of Muto's head. Muto squawked and the 2 of them rumbled onto the sidewalk. And Beans and Muto rumble several times every day. Every rumble lasts about 20 seconds, with both claiming victory. The ball bounced down the street and into the neighbor's front yard. The front yard along Palmer Street were very small, about the size of a blanket. The grass was neatly trimmed, and almost every yard had a border of flowers. Most of the houses were gray. Henry chased down the ball and kicked it back up the street. Henry always looked funny running, all arms and legs. He was by far the tallest of the group. Beans said, "Which one is Fish Face House?" Palmer did not want to say, but Beans was looking straight at him. "I'm not sure," he answered. "Not sure?" Beans gave a smirk. "Guess I gotta start yelling at them." He cupped his hands and yelled at the top of his lungs, "Fish Face! Fish Face! Fish Face!" Palmer pointed to the house directly across the street from him. That one. Bean stepped up to the house and shouted, "Hey, Fish Face! Fish Face!" Palmer cringed. No one came into the door, no window or curtain stirred. "Okay, Fish Face, you asked for it." Beans turned into Muto and Henry. "Let's leave her a little present." So they searched the gutter. "Sewer grate," piped Muto. The 3 of them raced to the nearest grate. Fish Face was Beans' name for Dorothy Grusick. Beans and the guys hated Dorothy and harassed her whenever they got the chance. Palmer had never understood why, though. Now that he was one of them, maybe he would find out. Maybe he could finally find a fish in her face. Palmer's mom had been trying to push Dorothy and him together as friends for years. Palmer had never been much interested. For one thing, Dorothy was a girl. Plus, she was in a lower grade and a whole year younger than me, or he. The guys turned from the sewer grate with something in the plastic bag. "Ugh, just mud and sticks," said Bean glumly. He went to Dorothy Grusick's house and dumped it on the top step. His face brightened. "Maybe they'll think it's poop." He rang the doorbell, banged on the door, and everyone took off. It was the first time Palmer had ever run with the gang. He felt shivers of excitement. He screamed and then beat them all to the corner.